I sat in the cafe, watching Paul arrive a full hour late. This was our first date in 5 years of marriage. Well, to be precise, it was my unilateral invitation. "Molly, sorry, there was a problem at the construction site," Paul said as he hurriedly sat down, not even taking off his coat. Seeing his furrowed brow, a familiar wave of disappointment washed over me. For 5 years now, every single important moment has been marred by his emergency. On our wedding day, he took 3 work calls. When I gave birth to Anne, he was in a meeting in the conference room. The first time Anne called me mommy, he was on a construction site checking progress. "It's okay," I murmured softly, already accustomed to such openings. Paul ordered a coffee, then pulled out his phone to check messages. Watching his profile as he looked down, I suddenly recalled that big boy from 5 years ago who used to write love letters for me. Back then, he would stay up late with me to draw design sketches, take time off work to care for me when I was sick, and drive 2 hours just to give me a hug. Nowadays, he can't even see me sitting right across from him. "Paul," I called softly. He didn't even look up. "I need to talk to you." "What is it?" He finally looked up from his phone, his eyes holding professional patience, as if facing a client who needed reassurance. I took a deep breath. "I want a divorce." The air froze for a few seconds. Paul blinked, seemingly unable to comprehend my words. "What did you say?" I said, "Let's get a divorce." I tried to stay calm, but my voice still trembled slightly. I'd rehearsed this line countless times in my head, but when I finally spoke it aloud, it still felt like tearing my heart out. Paul put down his phone and gave me his full attention for the first time during this meeting. "Molly, are you kidding me?" I wasn't joking. I pulled the divorce papers I'd prepared long ago from my bag. "I've thought this through." He took the documents, flipping through them quickly, his expression darkening by the second. "Why? Aren't we fine?" "We're fine." He actually said we're fine. "Paul, do you know when the last time we had a proper conversation was?" I asked him. He froze, clearly unable to recall. "Do you know what Anne's favorite color is? Do you know she's afraid of the dark? Do you know she asks Mom and Dad every night when they'll be home?" Each question stabbed at his heart like a knife. I'm really busy at work." "You're always so busy." I cut him off. "Busy enough to forget our anniversary, busy enough to miss every milestone in Anne's life, busy enough to treat our home like a hotel." Paul set his papers on the table and reached for my hand. I gently pulled away. "Molly, I know I haven't been good enough, but we can change things slowly." 5 years, Paul. I shook my head. "I've waited 5 years. You've kept talking about change, but nothing has changed." His face went completely pale. "What about Anne? She's still so young. And, come with me. I've thought this through, she needs a parent who truly cares." Soft music played in the cafe as couples whispered around them. On our table lay a divorce agreement. Paul remained silent for so long that I thought he had finally accepted reality. Finally, he spoke slowly. "Can you give me some time?" "Time?" I smiled bitterly. "Paul, I've already given you 5 years." I stood up and picked up my bag. "Take a look at the agreement first. If there are any issues, we can discuss them further. I only have one request: complete the paperwork as soon as possible." As I stepped out of the cafe, the spring sunshine bathed my face. I finally felt a long overdue sense of ease. Yes, I'm getting divorced. Starting today, I'm living for myself. Back home, and was building with blocks in the living room. "Mommy." She ran toward me, her little body crashing into my arms. "Sweetie, have you been good at home?" I kissed her cheek. Auntie said Daddy would be home early today." "Is that true?" And asked me with wide eyes. My heart instantly tightened. Nanny Auntie Lee emerged from the kitchen. "Madam, the gentleman just called to say he has a business dinner tonight and might be back very late." Anne's face instantly lost its sparkle. Another social event, she muttered under her breath. I crouched down and hugged her. And, how about Mom plays with you? Let's build a castle together. Yes. Anne perked up instantly. Children are like that, easily satisfied, yet easily disappointed. We spread the building blocks on the carpet, and Anne earnestly explained the purpose of each piece to me. This is where the princess lives, and this is where the prince lives. They play together every day. What if the prince is never home? I asked tentatively. Anne thought for a moment, then the princess can just play by herself. She's pretty amazing anyway. Children's words always strike a chord. Yes, the princess can be amazing, she doesn't need a prince who's always gone. At 10 o'clock at night, Paul still hadn't come home. I bathed and read her a story, and tucked her in. Throughout the whole process, Anne didn't ask about Daddy again. She had grown accustomed to it, accustomed to Daddy's absence, accustomed to having only Mommy by her side. This habit breaks my heart and only strengthens my resolve to divorce. Anne shouldn't have to grow up in this kind of environment. She deserves a complete family, or at the very least, a parent who loves her wholeheartedly. At 1 a.m, I heard the door open. Paul tiptoed into the room, reeking of alcohol. You're still awake? He asked, sounding surprised. Waiting for you, I replied, closing the design blueprint in my hands. We need to talk about Anne. He paused, then nodded. I'll take a shower. 15 minutes later, he sat across from me. About Anne, he began. She's coming with me, I stated bluntly. You can see her twice a month. Molly, is that fair to her? Paul frowned. She needs a father. What she needs is a father who truly cares about her. I looked at him. Not a stranger who's away on business trips every other day and sleeps as soon as he gets home. I am her father, his voice rose. Then tell me, who is her best friend? What scares her the most? What are her dreams? Paul opened his mouth but couldn't speak. See, you don't understand anything, I continued. To her, you're just an occasional visitor. His face went pale. I can change. You've said things like this too many times. I shook my head. I don't want to hear it anymore. Silence fell over the living room. The clock on the wall ticked away, just like our marriage as it grew colder. What if I really did change? His voice was soft. I looked at him, at this man who had once stirred my heart. Paul, some things, once broken, can never be put back together again. After saying that, I got up and went back to the bedroom. Behind me came his long sigh. This might be our last deep conversation. Starting tomorrow, we'll relate to each other in a different capacity. Ex-husband and ex-wife, the child's parents. That's all. The next morning, Paul stayed home for the first time ever. And nearly spilled her milk when she saw her dad sitting at the breakfast table. Dad. Aren't you going to work today? Not today. I'm staying with Anne. Paul managed a strained smile. I was frying eggs in the kitchen when I heard those words, and my hand trembled slightly. Was this his last-ditch effort? Great. Dad, can you take me to the amusement park? Mom said there's a huge Ferris wheel there. And clapped her hands excitedly. Of course. Paul looked at me, can Mom come too? I walked out carrying the fried eggs, I have work to do. Mom. And pouted. Seeing my daughter's disappointed expression, I relented, all right then, but only for half a day. The amusement park was packed with families bringing their children. And skipped ahead, holding our hands. Mom and Dad, let's take a picture, she exclaimed, pointing to a cartoon backdrop. Paul immediately pulled out his phone. All right, get in position. In the photo, we look like a happy family of 3. Anyone unaware of the truth would surely think we're deeply in love. Sadly, it's just a facade. Daddy, I want to ride that one. And pointed at the carousel. Okay, Daddy will ride with you. Watching Paul carefully help and onto the horse, I suddenly felt a bit dazed. If only he'd always been like this. If only he'd realized the importance of family sooner. But there are no ifs. "Mom, what are you thinking about?" And waved at me from the carousel. I snapped back to reality and waved at her. "Mommy's watching to see if and is having fun." "So much fun. Both Mom and Dad are here with me." Paul heard this and shot me a complicated look. I avoided his gaze. At noon, we ate at the amusement park restaurant. And kept excitedly talking about what she'd played and seen that day. "Daddy, can you play with me more often from now on?" she suddenly asked. Paul put down his fork. "Of course. Daddy will spend more time with Anne from now on." "Really?" Anne's eyes sparkled. "Really?" I smiled bitterly inside. Another promise. He was always good at making them, but not so good at keeping them. On the way home, and fell asleep in the back seat. Only Paul's and my breathing filled the car. "Did you have fun today?" he asked me. "And had a great time," I replied. "And you?" I fell silent. "Happy?" Seeing my daughter joyful, of course I was happy. But this happiness carried a bitter edge. Because I know moments like this will never come again. "Molly, can't we really try again?" His voice was soft. "Paul, do you think one day of change can make up for 5 years of indifference?" He didn't answer. At the red light, I watched the hurried pedestrians outside the car window. Everyone was rushing about in their own lives, searching for their own happiness. And I, too, should strive for my own happiness. "Have you read the agreement?" I asked. "I see." His voice softened. "You really thought this through. Then sign it as soon as possible." The car started moving again, and neither of us spoke. Anne slept soundly in the back seat, her little hand still clutching the teddy bear we'd bought today. She didn't know this might be our last outing as a family of 3. Some things adults don't tell children. But children always come to understand as they grow. I hope that when the time comes, she'll understand Mom's choice today. That evening, after her bath, Anne pestered Paul to tell her a story. "Daddy, will you tell me the story of Little Red Riding Hood?" "Sure." Paul sat on the edge of the bed, awkwardly flipping through the storybook. He rarely told Anne stories, that had always been my job. Once upon a time, there was a little girl named Little Red Riding Hood. I stood at the door listening to his stumbling footsteps, my heart heavy with mixed emotions. If only he had been like this sooner. If only he could have been more involved in Anne's upbringing. Alas, it was all too late. "Mom, come in and listen too." Anne spotted me. I walked into the room and sat on the other side of the bed. The 3 of us gathered around the bed, cozy as a scene straight out of a fairy tale. Later, Little Red Riding Hood and her grandmother were both saved, and the big bad wolf was chased away by the hunter. Paul finished the story. "Did Little Red Riding Hood and her family live happily ever after?" And asked. "Yes, they lived happily ever after." Paul glanced at me. "Will our family always stay together?" The air froze instantly. Paul and I exchanged a look, unsure how to respond. "Of course we will," Paul finally said. "Mom and Dad will always love Anne." He didn't say we'd be together forever, but that he'd love her forever. It was a clever answer, neither a lie nor something to worry the child. Anne nodded contentedly. "Then I can sleep soundly." She closed her eyes and soon fell asleep. Paul and I tiptoed out of the room. "When should we tell her?" he asked me. "After the paperwork is done," I replied. "She's still too young to understand now." "What if she asks?" "I'll just tell her Mom and Dad will be living apart for a while. I've already thought of what to say. When she's a little older, she'll understand naturally." Paul nodded, his expression somber. I returned to the master bedroom and began packing. Though we haven't officially divorced yet, I've decided to move out first. Pretending to get along under the same roof is too exhausting. "You're moving out?" Paul stood in the doorway. "Yeah. I kept folding clothes. I rented a place. What about Anne? She's coming with me. He paused for a moment, her kindergarten. I'll transfer her to one near our new place. Molly. He stepped inside. You don't have to rush the move. We could. Paul. I stopped what I was doing and looked at him. Since we've decided to part ways, let's not drag this out. It's not good for either of us. He stood there watching as I packed each piece of clothing into the suitcase. Some of these clothes he had bought for me, others I had picked out during our shopping trips together. Each one held memories. But now, they were just items needing to be packed. Can I come see Anne on weekends? He asked. Of course you can, I replied, closing the suitcase. You're her father, that won't change. What about you? He suddenly asked. Can I still see you? I paused. We'll be Anne's parents from now on. Beyond that. Other than that, it's strangers, right? He replied with a bitter smile. I didn't answer, but silence was my answer. I see, he said, turning and leaving the room. I heard the sound of a bottle being opened in the living room. He was drinking again. Whenever work got stressful or he felt down, he'd drink alone. I tried talking him out of it, but it didn't work. Now, how much he drinks is none of my business anymore. I kept packing, stuffing 5 years of marriage into a few suitcases. Saying I wasn't sad would be a lie. But sometimes, choosing to end things takes courage too. For Anne, and for myself. Outside the window, the night flows like water, while the city lights still shine brightly. Tomorrow, Anne and I will start a new life in a new place. No disappointment, no waiting, only the warmth of us mother and daughter relying on each other. Perhaps this is just fine. The next day was Saturday, and I had originally planned to go see the new house with Anne. But Paul offered to come along. I want to see where Anne will be living, he said. I didn't refuse. The new apartment is in a neighborhood downtown, a cozy 2-bedroom with a living room. Wow! This place is so pretty! And exclaimed, running excitedly around the moment she stepped inside. Do you like it, Anne? I asked her. I love it. Is that room mine? She asked, pointing to the second bedroom. Yes, that's Anne's princess room. And happily dashed into the room and began planning her little space. Paul stood in the living room, carefully examining every corner. Nice renovation, he said. The safety measures are well done too. I replied simply. Is it far from her new kindergarten? Not far, just a 10-minute walk. He nodded and stepped onto the balcony to look around. Great view and plenty of natural light. I followed him out onto the balcony, where the cityscape stretched out before us. Daddy, look. You can see so many tall buildings from here. And ran over and grabbed Paul's hand. Yes, it's beautiful. He crouched down and picked it up. And we'll be very happy here. Will Daddy come visit me? Of course he will. Daddy will come see Anne often. And happily kissed his cheek. Watching this scene, I felt a mix of emotions. If only he had realized the importance of family sooner, would we have ended up here today? Mom, when are we moving in? And asked me. Next week. I said, and needs to say goodbye to her old kindergarten. Then I'll have to say goodbye to my friends, and said, feeling a little sad. It's okay. You'll make new friends at the new kindergarten. Really? Really. After leaving the new house, we headed to a nearby mall to buy some daily necessities for Anne. The mall was bustling with families out for weekend shopping. Watching other families of 3 chatting and laughing together, I suddenly felt a pang of irony. We were also a family of 3, yet we were preparing for separation. Mom, I want this little bear. And pointed to the stuffed animal in the toy store. Okay, let's buy it. Paul stepped forward to pay. The salesperson smiled at us and said, You two have such a wonderful relationship, and your child is so adorable. Neither Paul nor I offered any explanation. "Dad, shall we go get some ice cream?" Anne suggested. "Sure." We sat down at the ice cream shop, and Anne carefully chose her flavor. "I want strawberry." "Okay, strawberry for Anne," Paul told the server. "What would you like?" the server asked us. "I'll have vanilla," I said. "Me too," Paul said. Anne ate her ice cream, happily swinging her little legs. "Mommy and Daddy, do you both have the same flavor because you like the same things?" Paul and I exchanged a glance. Once upon a time, we truly shared many common interests. We loved the same movies, the same music, the same foods. But when did we stop knowing what each other liked? "Yes," Paul replied to Anne, "because we both love sweet flavors." "Then I love sweet flavors too," Anne said happily. Seeing my daughter's innocent smile, I prayed silently. I hoped she could forever hold on to this purity and joy. I hoped our separation wouldn't cast a shadow over her heart. "Daddy, will you play with me again tomorrow?" Anne suddenly asked. Paul glanced at me. "Dad has to handle some things at the office tomorrow." Anne's smile instantly faded. "But next Saturday, Dad will definitely spend time with and, okay," he added. "Okay." Anne perked up again. Children are like that, easily comforted and quick to forget disappointment. But I know that too many disappointments will slowly teach a child to stop expecting. Just like me. On Monday, I took into the kindergarten to complete the transfer paperwork. "Molly, isn't transferring out?" the homeroom teacher asked, sounding a bit surprised. "Yes, we're moving," I explained briefly. "And has always done very well here, and all the teachers adore her." "Thank you for your care, teacher." After completing the formalities, Anne bid farewell to the children with some reluctance. "I have to go now, but we'll still be good friends, right?" "Yes." "And, remember to think of me." Watching the children's pure friendship, my heart felt a pang of sadness. And would have to say goodbye to her familiar surroundings and friends because of our decision. "Mommy, I'm going to miss it here," Anne said on the way home. "I know, sweetie, but the new kindergarten will be fun too." "Will Daddy be moving to the new house too?" she suddenly asked. I paused for a moment. "Dad has his own place." "Why doesn't Dad live with us?" "Because." I didn't know how to explain it, because Dad is very busy with work and needs to live somewhere convenient for his job. Anne nodded, looking as if she understood yet didn't. "Does Daddy still love us?" "Of course he does. Daddy loves Anne the most." "Then why doesn't he live with us?" "Shouldn't people who love each other live together?" Children's questions are always so direct, impossible to dodge. And, sometimes grown-ups have their own plans, but love doesn't disappear just because we don't live together anymore. She thought for a moment. "Like me and Jejia, even though we're not in the same kindergarten anymore, we're still good friends, right?" "Yes, that's exactly what I mean." Back home, Paul was on the phone in the living room. Spotting us return, he hurriedly ended the call. "Did you finish the transfer paperwork?" he asked. "Yeah. I changed my shoes." Anne's a little reluctant. "Anne." Paul crouched down and hugged his daughter. "The new kindergarten will be more fun. Daddy promises." "Really?" Anne's eyes lit up. "Really? When has Daddy ever lied to Anne?" Anne smiled happily. That evening, I was packing up the last few things. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. Paul went to answer it. It was my best friend Tina. "Is Molly home?" Her voice sounded a bit urgent. "She is." Paul stepped aside. "Come in." Tina walked into the living room and saw me packing. Her expression darkened. "Are you really moving out?" "Yeah." I nodded. Tina is a lawyer and the one helping me draft the divorce agreement. She's always supported my decision, but seeing the current situation, she seems hesitant. "Where's Anne?" she asked. "Playing in her room." "I'd like to talk to you alone." Tina glanced at Paul. Paul tactfully said, I'll head to the study to handle some work. After he left, Tina sat down beside me. Molly, have you thought this through? Very clearly, I replied, continuing to fold the clothes. This is a decision I've considered for a long time. But from the way Paul looked just now, he seemed really bothered by the idea of you two leaving. I stopped what I was doing. Haruko, are you trying to talk me out of getting a divorce? I'm not trying to talk you out of it, Tina shook her head. I just think maybe you two could try talking things out. 5 years have passed, and we've talked countless times. I gave a wry smile. And what's the result? Nothing's changed. But people do change. Maybe he really has realized the problem. Maybe. I shrugged. But I don't want to gamble anymore. Tina looked at me. You know what? A lot of women envy you. You have a successful husband, an adorable daughter, and a comfortable life. Well, if they want it, I can give it to them, I said, half-jokingly. Molly, I'm serious. Tina took my hand. Marriage isn't easy. If there's still a chance to save it. Tina. I cut her off. Do you have any idea what these past 5 years have been like for me? I know you've been through a lot. It's not exhaustion. I shook my head. It's despair. When you're utterly disappointed in someone, you stop expecting anything from them. Tina fell silent. I've already died inside once, I continued. I don't want to die inside again. She looked at me, a hint of reluctance in her eyes. What about Anne? She's lost her complete family. A complete family isn't just two adults living under the same roof, I interrupted her. It's two people who love each other and their children. We haven't been a complete family for a long time. And came running out of the room. She threw herself into Tina's arms. Anne. Tina picked her up. Did you miss your auntie? Yes. Auntie, we're moving to a new house. Really? Are you excited, Anne? Yes. The new house is beautiful, and you can see lots of tall buildings. Seeing Anne's excitement, Tina's expression was complex. Perhaps she understood that for Anne, wherever Mom was, that was home. Moving day dawned with beautiful weather. The movers finished loading everything quickly. Paul helped the entire time, even though I told him not to worry about it. Dad, are you coming with us to the new house? And asked. Dad will help you move over there, then come right back. Paul crouched down and ruffled her hair. Why not stay? Because Dad still has work to do. And looked a little disappointed, but nodded anyway. Our new home was quickly set up. I decorated Anne's room with her favorite princess stickers and arranged her toys. Mommy, this is really awesome. And bounced up and down on the bed. Glad you like it, I said with a smile. Paul checked the plumbing and electrical systems in the living room, confirming everything was in order. If anything comes up, just give me a call anytime, he told me. Okay. He then inspected the door locks and windows. The security measures are decent, but you should still be careful at night. I know. After finishing all that, it was already afternoon. Is Daddy leaving? And tugged at his hand. Yes, but Daddy will come see Anne this weekend. Then can Daddy play with me for a little while now? Of course. They were building blocks in the living room while I prepared dinner in the kitchen. Through the kitchen door, I could see the father and daughter engrossed in their activity. How wonderful it would be if things could always stay this way. But saying such things now was pointless. After dinner was ready, I called them over to eat. Wow, Mom's sweet and sour spare ribs. And clapped her hands happily. And steamed egg custard, Anne's favorite. I served her some rice. Thanks, Mom. Paul sat down too, though he didn't seem very hungry. Not to your liking? I asked. No, he shook his head. It smells great. But he still ate very little. And chatted with us while eating, and the atmosphere was fairly pleasant. Daddy, Do you have such delicious meals at your house too? She suddenly asked. Paul paused for a moment. Daddy usually eats out. That doesn't taste good, does it? And frowned. Food outside just isn't as tasty as Mom's. Yeah, it's not as tasty as Mom's. He glanced at me. After dinner, he volunteered to help clear the table. I'll do it, I said. It's okay, I'll help you. We washed dishes in the kitchen, just like before. Only our hearts felt entirely different now. Molly. He spoke suddenly. If I could change things, would there still be a chance for us? I paused my movements. Paul, there are some things I don't want to repeat too many times. I know you don't believe me now. He continued, but I'm serious. Your seriousness comes too late, I replied, continuing to wash the dishes. Besides, I don't need it anymore. He was silent for a long time. I understand, he finally said. After washing the dishes, he said goodbye to and Daddy's leaving now. Be a good girl and listen to Mommy. Okay. Bye, Daddy. And kissed his cheek. Bye. He hugged her, his eyes growing misty. Walking him to the door, we stood face to face one last time. Take care of yourself. And, he added. I will. I'll sign the agreement tomorrow. I nodded. Thank you. He turned and walked away, his steps heavy. I closed the door, leaned against it, and let out a long sigh. Finally, we were officially parting ways. Mom, did Dad leave? And came over. He did. He looked a little sad. Children always have keen observation skills. Sometimes grown-ups feel sad too, I said. But that's not something Anne needs to worry about. Then what should we do now? Shall we watch TV? Sure. We settled on the couch to watch cartoons, and snuggled in my lap. Our first night in the new home, just the two of us, mother and daughter. But that was perfectly fine. Quiet and warm. No waiting, no disappointment. Just each other's company. A week later, the divorce agreement was formally signed. When Paul and I parted at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau, we were both calm. If anything comes up regarding Anne, feel free to reach out anytime, he said. Okay. Also, if you ever need help, I'll handle it. I cut him off. He nodded and turned toward the parking lot. I stood there watching his retreating figure, feeling none of the relief I'd imagined. Only the sense that one chapter of my life had closed completely. Starting today, I am Molly, a single mother. Back home, and was drawing with the nanny. Mommy, look at my little bunny, she exclaimed, holding up her drawing. You did such a great job. I praised her with a smile. Unaware of what had happened today, in her world, everything remained just as it always had been. That evening, I got a call from Tina. Done with it? She asked. Yeah, done. How does it feel? All right, I said. More peaceful than I expected. That's good. Tina paused. Molly, I support your decision. Thanks. If you need anything, just let me know. Okay. After hanging up, I bathed and put her to bed. Mommy, why didn't Daddy call today? She asked. Daddy must be busy, I said. Tomorrow's the weekend, he'll come see Anne. Really? Really. Anne closed her eyes contentedly. I sat by her bedside, watching her sleeping face. This little angel is the most precious gift in my life. For her, I can endure any hardship. The next day was Saturday, and Paul arrived right on time to pick up Daddy. Anne threw herself into his arms. Did you miss Daddy? He asked, lifting her up. Yes. Where are we going to play today? How about the zoo? Yes. As they were leaving, Anne turned back to me. Aren't you coming, Mom? Mom has things to do, I said. And Dad will go have fun, then come back tonight and tell Mom what animals you saw. Okay, Watching them walk away, I sat on the sofa for a while, lost in thought. This was the first weekend after the divorce. From now on, and would spend weekends with her dad and weekdays with me. I picked up my drawing board and began sketching the design. Work always helps me forget my troubles. At 3 in the afternoon, I got a call from Paul. "And has a fever," he said, sounding anxious. "I'm taking her to the hospital." I jumped up immediately. "Is it serious?" "Her temperature is 38.5 degrees Celsius, and she just threw up." "I'll be right over." I rushed to the hospital and found them at the pediatric clinic. And was listlessly leaning against Paul, her little face flushed. "Mommy." She reached out her small hand when she saw me. "Sweetheart," I said, gently touching her forehead with a pained heart. "Still feeling unwell?" "A little," she replied in a faint voice. After examining her, the doctor diagnosed acute gastroenteritis and said she needed 4 fluids. "She probably ate something unclean at the zoo today," the doctor explained. I glanced at Paul, his face was pale. "I'm sorry," he said. "I didn't take good care of her." "Now is not the time to talk about that." I picked up and, "Let's get her treated first." In the 4-room, and lay on the hospital bed while Paul and I sat on either side. "Mommy, am I sick?" and asked. "Yes, but you'll get better soon." I held her little hand. "Can I still go to the new kindergarten tomorrow?" "Wait until you're better." "Okay." She obediently closed her eyes. The 4 drip would take 3 hours, so Paul and I took turns watching over her. "I'll go buy some congee," Paul said. "She'll need something to eat when she wakes up." "All right." After he left, I stayed alone with and watching the medicine slowly drip through the 4-tube, I suddenly felt exhausted. Raising a child alone is truly no easy task. If I got sick, could I handle it by myself? Paul returned shortly, carrying a thermos. I bought plain congee and small steamed buns. He said, her favorite. After waking up, and drank some congee and felt a little better. "Mom, I want to go home," she said. "We'll be home soon," I reassured her. After the 4 drip finished, we returned together to my new home. "I'll drop you off and head out," Paul said. "No need," I replied, holding and, "You've had a long day too. I want to make sure she's okay before I leave." I didn't refuse. After Anne's bath, I took her temperature. It had dropped to just over 37 degrees. "Much better," I sighed in relief. "That puts my mind at ease." Paul stood up. "I'm leaving." "Bye, Dad." And waved goodbye, though she still felt a bit weak. "Bye, sweetheart." As he walked to the door, he suddenly said, "Molly, thank you for not blaming me today. She is our child." I said, "Taking care of her is our shared responsibility." He nodded, a complex emotion in his eyes. "I'll be more careful from now on." "I know." After he left, I returned to Anne's room. She was already asleep, breathing steadily. I sat by the bed for a long time, thinking about what had happened today. Perhaps the choice I made back then was the right one. At least now, we can still get along peacefully for Anne's sake. That's fine too. A month later, our new life gradually settled into a routine. And was adjusting well at her new kindergarten and had made new friends. I also started taking on some design projects again. Life was busy, but fulfilling. That afternoon, I was drawing in my studio when I suddenly got a call from the kindergarten teacher. "Molly, and has been crying all afternoon at kindergarten, and nothing seems to comfort her." My heart sank. What happened? It seems she got into a fight with some other kids. She keeps saying she wants her mom and dad. I'll be right there. When I arrived at the kindergarten, and was sitting in the corner of the classroom, her eyes red and swollen. "Anne." I crouched down and pulled her into my arms. "Mommy." She threw herself against me, tears falling again. "What's wrong, sweetheart?" Mingming said I don't have a dad. She sniffled. He said my dad doesn't want me anymore. A wave of anger surged through me, but I patiently reassured her. And, of course Daddy wants you. Daddy loves Anne the most. Then why doesn't Daddy live with us? She looked up at me. Why do other kids have both parents picking them up, but I only have Mom? This issue was bound to come up sooner or later, but I didn't expect it to happen so soon. And even though Mommy and Daddy don't live together anymore, they both love you very much, I explained in terms she could understand. It's like having lots of toys, some are in this room, some are in that room, but you love them all, right? Anne thought for a moment and nodded. Mom and Dad are the same. Even though they live in different places, their love for Anne is just as strong. Then can I go live with Dad? Of course you can. Dad will come pick you up on weekends. And finally broke into a smile. On my way home, I texted Paul about what happened today. He called back almost immediately. Is Anne okay? He asked. She's calmed down now, I said, but I think we need to have a proper talk with her. You mean, tell her about our divorce? She already senses it. I said, instead of letting her dwell on it, we should tell her honestly. All right, I'll go tonight. No need. I declined. Tomorrow's the weekend. When you come to pick her up, we'll tell her together. Okay. The next day, Paul arrived right on time. The three of us sat in the living room, the atmosphere somewhat tense. And, Mom and Dad need to talk to you about something, I began. And looked at me, then at Paul, a flicker of unease in her eyes. Mom and Dad decided to live apart. Paul said, it's not because they don't love Anne, but because of grown-up reasons. What does living apart mean? And asked. It means Dad will live at his place, and Mom and Anne will live here, I explained. Are you still married? Kids always ask the tough questions. No, I answered honestly. But we'll always be Anne's mom and dad. And was silent for a long time. Is it because I did something wrong? She asked softly. No. Paul and I said in unison. It absolutely wasn't because of Anne. Paul embraced her. And is the best kid in the world. Mom and Dad are so proud to have a daughter like you. Then why did you split up? Because sometimes adults have disagreements and problems they can't solve. I said, but none of that has anything to do with Anne. And thought for a long time, then will I still get to see Dad? Of course you will, Paul said. Dad will come see Anne every weekend, and sometimes Anne can stay at Dad's house too. Really? Really? Anne seemed to accept the explanation. Then let's go play now, she said. I want to feed the ducks at the park. Seeing her innocent expression, Paul and I both breathed a sigh of relief. Perhaps for children, as long as there is love, nothing else matters. In the park, Anne happily fed the ducks. Mommy and Daddy, look. The little ducks are fighting over the food. We sat on the bench watching her, our feelings mixed. She's taking it better than we expected, Paul said. Children are remarkably adaptable. I replied, as long as we handle this properly, she won't be too affected. Thank you, he said suddenly. For what? For letting me remain her father. I looked at him. She's your daughter. That's only natural. But many women wouldn't be so magnanimous. I'm not doing this for magnanimity, I said. I'm doing it for Anne. She needs a father's love. He nodded, his eyes glistening. I'll do my best to be a good father. I believe you. As the sun set in the west, the three of us walked home together. Though our family was no longer complete, Anne's laughter remained as clear and cheerful as ever. Perhaps this outcome was the best choice for everyone. 3 months later, my life was completely back on track. Work grew increasingly busy, with several major projects underway simultaneously. And had fully adjusted to the new rhythm of life and was excelling at kindergarten. Every weekend, Paul would arrive punctually to pick her up, never missing a single appointment. It was Friday night, and I was working late drawing diagrams while Anne was already asleep. Suddenly, an unfamiliar number called. Is this Molly? Yes, who's this? I'm a nurse at the downtown hospital. A man named Paul was in a car accident and is currently in our emergency room. Your number is listed as his emergency contact. I froze for a moment. Is it serious? His injuries are quite severe. He's in the resuscitation room. Could you come in? All right, I'll be right over. After hanging up, my mind went blank. Even though we're divorced, hearing this news still left me shocked and worried. I woke up and hurriedly took her to the neighbor's house next door. Auntie, could you watch in for me? I have an emergency. Of course. Go ahead. When I reached the hospital, the emergency room lights were still on. Doctor, how is Paul? I asked anxiously. We're still performing CPR, the doctor replied. And who are you to him? I hesitated. I'm the mother of his daughter. Then please wait here for now. We'll notify you as soon as we have any updates. I sat on a chair outside the emergency room, my emotions tangled. Though our marriage had ended, he was still Aunt's father. If anything happened to him, Aunt would be heartbroken. 2 hours later, the ER doors finally opened. Doctor, how is he? I jumped to my feet. Out of immediate danger, the doctor said, removing his mask. But his injuries are severe. He'll need to be admitted for observation. I breathed a sigh of relief. Thank you, doctor. He needs a family member's signature. We're divorced. I don't know if I can. You're the child's mother. You should be able to. Besides, we can't reach any other family members right now. I signed the papers and watched as Paul was wheeled into the hospital room. His face was pale, his head wrapped in bandages, and he looked very weak. When will he wake up? I asked the nurse. Soon, he should wake up once the anesthesia wears off. I sat down beside the hospital bed and gazed at his sleeping face. This man, once my husband, is now my daughter's father. No matter what happened between us, I never wanted anything bad to happen to him. Half an hour later, he slowly came to. Molly? He saw me, surprise flashing in his eyes. You're awake. I said, how do you feel? My head hurts a little. He tried to sit up. How did you get here? The hospital called me. They said you'd been in an accident. He paused, then said, I'm sorry for the trouble. It's okay. I poured him a glass of water. The doctor said you need to stay in the hospital for observation for a few days. What about Anne? She's at the neighbor's, I said. She doesn't know about this yet. Don't tell her for now, he said. So she won't worry. Okay. The ward fell quiet, broken only by the steady beeping of the machines. Molly. He said suddenly. Thanks for coming to the hospital. I just don't want Anne to lose her father. I said. He gave a wry smile. I know. Get some rest. I'll handle the admission paperwork. No need. I'll have my assistant take care of it. It's the middle of the night, don't bother anyone. When I went to handle the paperwork, the nurse asked if I needed to hire a caregiver. He's hospitalized alone, so it might be inconvenient, she said. I thought about it, let's hire one for now. By the time I returned to the ward, he was already asleep. I sat on the chair for a while, making sure he was okay before leaving. By the time I got home, it was already 3 a.m. I picked up Anne, who was fast asleep and knew nothing about what had happened. The next morning, I called in sick to the kindergarten and took Anne to the hospital to see Paul. What's wrong with Daddy? And asked on the way. Daddy's sick and will stay in the hospital for a few days, I explained simply. Is it serious? Not serious. He'll get better soon. As she entered the hospital room, Paul was talking to the doctor. Daddy. And rushed over and threw her arms around him. Anne. He embraced his daughter, a flicker of pain crossing his eyes, but he forced a smile. Daddy, why did you have to get sick? Anne touched his forehead worriedly. Dad's fine, he just needs to rest in the hospital for a few days. He reassured her. Then can I stay with you? And has to go to kindergarten, I said. Dad needs quiet rest. But I want to take care of Dad. Tears welled up in Anne's eyes. And was such a good girl. Paul kissed her cheek. When Daddy gets out of the hospital, he'll come pick you up, okay? Okay. Anne's tears turned to smiles. After staying a while longer, I took Anne to school. Mommy, is Daddy really okay? She asked again on the way. It's really okay. The doctor will take good care of Dad. Can we still visit Dad tomorrow? Yes. For the next few days, I took Anne to the hospital every day. Even though we were divorced, at a time like this, I felt Anne should spend more time with her dad. Paul's injury is healing well, but the doctor recommended he stay in the hospital for at least a week. I had my assistant cancel all my work commitments, he told me. This has been a lesson. What lesson? I'm always so busy with work that I neglect the people and things that matter most. He gazed out the window. If something really happens this time, I'll regret it for the rest of my life. I didn't respond. Molly, I want to ask you something. What? If you could turn back time, would you still choose to marry me? That question left me silent for a long time. There are no ifs, I finally said. Besides, if I hadn't married you, there wouldn't be an Anne. Then do you regret it? I don't regret having Anne. I looked at him. But I don't regret my choice now either. He nodded. I understand. Paul, I said, some things just happen. We both need to move forward. Yes. He gave a wry smile. I just wanted to know, is there still a sliver of possibility between us in your heart? None. I answered bluntly. But we can be good friends, for Anne's sake. Disappointment flickered in his eyes, but quickly gave way to acceptance. All right, being friends is fine too. On the day he was discharged, I went to pick him up. Thanks for taking care of me these past few days, he said. You're welcome. Molly, I've come to understand a lot of things. He looked at me earnestly. I'll strive to be a good father and respect your choices. Thank you. If you ever run into trouble or need help, don't hesitate to tell me. We may not be husband and wife anymore, but I hope we can still be friends. Okay. The car pulled up outside my apartment building, where Anne had been waiting. Daddy. She threw herself into Paul's arms. Anne. He picked up his daughter and spun her around. Daddy, are you all better now? All better. Then let's go to the park. Okay. Watching the happy father and daughter, I thought this ending wasn't so bad after all. We may not be able to be husband and wife, but we can be friends. For Anne, and for the beautiful memories we once shared. 6 months later, I met a wonderful man at a design exhibition. His name was Tom, a photographer, gentle, humorous, and very fond of children. And took an instant liking to him the first time she met him. Mom, will Uncle live with us? And asked me one day. Would you like that? I asked her in return. Yes, she said without hesitation. Uncle is nice, and he takes really pretty pictures of me. When I told Paul the news, he was silent for a long time. Is he a good man? He finally asked. Yes, I said. He's been good to Anne. That's good, he nodded. And needs a complete family. What about you? I asked. Have you thought about starting over? Not yet, he shook his head. I might need more time. You'll find the right person, I said. Maybe.